How shall we start this?
Do we not start every podcast with like, hi, I'm Helen Tudor and this is the Ideal Client Attraction Podcast, or not? You can have that. Done. We're rocking and rolling. Let's go. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so we've reached episode 7 of season 2.
Here we are.
I hope you've listened to every episode to get to this point, dear audience member. This episode, I think, will reference. Oh, hello. Okay, let's start that again, shall we? This is episode 7. And this episode will reference several episodes we've done earlier, but we'll mention that if we do give you some homework to go back and listen. This one is about going from being a freelancer to a business owner, the shifts you need to make in your mindset.
Yes.
And within the business itself, and whether it's for you, I'd imagine something we're going to discuss, Helen, as well.
Yeah, I think freelancer mindset is very much, I see we sort of call it solopreneur, don't we, in the online space? But I think the freelancer is more, you don't want a boss, so you then go and do the thing you were doing anyway.
For loads of bosses.
For loads of bosses, which is why
you don't realise that's actually what you've done. It's like, I got rid of one boss who could moan at me, and now I've taken on 20.
Yeah, so that, I think obviously it's a massive growing economy, like the gig economy, and everyone's kind of, sort of post-COVID, people have really embraced that. And I remember when, Fiverr came out and things like that. And it was very much, well, just go and monetize the skills you've got, just go and get some freelance work doing it. And then if you search LinkedIn for freelance, you can see all the different types of things that people do freelance, and it's basically the skill they were doing as a job and then they're doing for themselves. And that to me is a freelancer mindset. It's like, I do this thing, but now I just do it for myself instead of doing it for one person. So I do it for lots of other people. And I think what happens is you have to realize that there's the thing that you do and there's the business you run.
Yeah.
And they're two totally different entities that need love and care and attention. And a lot of people go freelance because they love the thing that they do.
Yeah.
Not because they want to run a business.
Absolutely. I think that's, and the freelance to business owner is not just in digital stuff. It's not just in entrepreneurship. It is the kind of thing, I don't want to work for a gym, so I'm going to become a personal trainer. And then you realize you've got to run the business, get the clients, do all the other stuff. And you might become a personal trainer or worked in a gym because you don't like doing paperwork and all that kind of stuff. And then you realize you're spending half your life to get the clients to deliver on the freelance bit that you actually like.
Yeah.
Because when you are doing a role within a company, you generally just get to turn up and do that role.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, there's negatives to it. I'm not saying it's glorious. But people don't realise until they pull themselves out of the company that actually I've then got to find the clients, do the tax and stuff like that. I think where Freelancer excels is in start-stop projects. So you can choose, maybe if you're young and free or just haven't got any commitments, I'm going to build 5 websites, and then I'm going to go to Sri Lanka for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say I'm back available. I'm going to grab some more projects. And if you're going through the sites, that's the kind of thing, because the sites are taking a cut, but they're doing a lot of the work for you.
Yeah.
So you can mark yourself as available. You can take the work when you want it. You can earn enough money to fund the next stage of your global trip or to pay for your next thing, or you can do one a month, or you can live at the balance you want to live. And that's when freelancing is kind of great, because it's like, really gives you that sense of freedom when you can switch it on and off. When the blurred line starts to come is when you start to go into recurring contracts as a freelancer, because then you're not really as free because you're tied into a contract.
They're free in the freelancer.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But it's a very different kind of thing. So if you're doing that, then you are sort of like, you might be calling yourself a freelancer thinking, but you're starting to run a business. Do you mean? Because you're starting to recommit to regular income, regular work, regular exchange of money for time, which is what a job is.
Yeah.
So when you're a freelancer, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, when you're a freelancer and you're working 40 hours for one person for 5 for 8 people, that's like a business, and it's not as kind of like as a free. It's like it's a slightly different thing. And there will be arguments across the internet as to definitions. And I think that's when you become more solopreneur. Do you know what I mean? Because you're starting to do that. And then when you get too busy, you might get someone else on, and stuff like that. But there is a mindset shift that will happen, isn't there, in each one? And a lot of that, I think, is why you did it in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think what are the reasons that someone might want to become a freelancer first of all, or become a business owner?
It's interesting because not really thought about it until we've had this conversation, but I think the clue's in the name, isn't it? It's the freedom. They want the freedom from that, that what they see as the negatives.
Yeah.
But then so one of the things that I talk about is like scaffolding. So when you're in employment, particularly if you're in a senior role in a corporate organization, which a lot of my clients were or are, there's a lot of scaffolding around you.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you don't realize until someone takes it away and you start to feel very unsafe, because the scaffolding is yes, it's in the, it's in the people around you. So in a corporate, you've got a lot of people around you. We all quite often see marketing directors who want to become marketing agency owners or marketers who suddenly realize that as a marketing director, you're not actually doing much of the work. There's people around you who are doing a lot of the actual work. And when you go on your own, you're going to do all the work again, like from top to bottom. So when you become very senior, you get a lot of scaffolding in terms of you've got team, you've got even things like we were talking about photocopiers earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, photocopiers and printers.
Yeah, you've got all that in there. You've got your staff room. But you've also got from a mindset point of view, you've got a lot of scaffolding around you. You've got the name of the company behind you that opens doors. That just by being there, you've got the authority. You've got the identity. You're somebody. When people walk in, going back to this client, I've referenced a lot. She's was a senior a senior partner in a global law firm. That's a big job, and when she walks into a room of other lawyers, they know who she is, right?
Yeah.
Because she's very senior. When she comes to an event like the one we were at, nobody knows her. So it's kind of like very freeing, but also possibly quite humbling. I mean, probably not for her because she's so lovely, but I think a lot of people come out of that corporate machine and sort of like, oh, I've lost all of that support and all of that, scaffolding around me that made my job actually a lot easier. And when you go out on your own, when you're in an organization, it's about the organization and what you can do within that organization. But when you're on your own, becomes very personal very quickly.
I think also it's like you were saying, like with that global law firm. It's interesting because I know people that have worked for organizations, and I don't think their egos could take, once they had left, how much it was that the name of the firm on the business card that was...
Well, it opens the doors,
that was opening the doors, getting them the credibility. And it's like, oh, they're from there, they must be good. It's like, I know you understand football, but a lot of your audience might not. But it's like, if you play for Real Madrid, if someone says he plays for Real Madrid, he's in the first team, or he played for Real Madrid, people think, oh, he's a bit good.
Yeah.
Now, that same player could have played for Warrington Town.
Yes.
On his way up or whatever. But if you said that, there's a perception of where it is attached to the brand. There are famous copywriting schools. People say, oh, I've done copy for such and such and such and such. And people are like, oh, that's really impressive. But they don't realise that the clients are going to the brand because they know they're going to be protected by the brand. So, and you can be very famous within it. And as you say, some people realise the scaffolding and just think, oh, this is not for me. I don't want to do HR. I don't want to deal with office rental, office contracts, moaning about the people in my office because there's no heating for 3 days. I don't want to deal with all that stuff. And they don't realise that they've got a team and how much that all costs. Yeah. And also, they've got a nice cushy salary a lot of the time if they're choosing to jump. So,
and also the politics. So I always think a lot of people come out of corporate to go freelance or to go self-employed because they're sick of the politics and the bitching and the backstabbing, when actually they miss it. They miss that. Being part of that, that it's like school, isn't it? It's that kind of, I miss it. And I see this a lot in online spaces. They almost recreate it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that comes from that, the gossip, the bitching, the backstabbing, the drama, the passive aggressiveness that we see in the online space. It's almost like you guys are just missing a bit of that. You've got nothing to talk about because you just sat on your own all day. So you're looking for tribes, you're looking for people. And I think a lot of that comes from coming away from organizations that you complain about, but you sort of miss having a boss you can moan about and team members that got,
other people shift the blame onto. I'd say the scariest thing about being a freelancer or a solopreneur is you look at that balance sheet at the end of the month, it's your fault.
Yeah.
If I haven't made enough money, it's my fault.
There's nobody to
There's
blame.
no one else to blame but
There's
me.
no one to pass it on to in the meeting.
And I was taught to do a thing at the end of each month is write a check, you know, to yourself as an employee. Like, how much do you think you're actually worth? And do you feel like, you know, that you're actually ripping yourself off, paying yourself that? And there's been a couple of months, well, hang on, we're only 3 months in, so that's a bit telling, isn't it? There's been at least 1 month this year where the amount of money I've taken out of the company, I thought if I was paying someone else, they'd be in the office for a chat. If they took that much money off me and performed at that level, you know, but it's all down to me. It's like, okay, it's like first quarter, I haven't done any promotional videos for my company this year.
Yeah.
Right? I sit next, I share an office with a videographer.
Yeah, rate yourself. If you're the director of every department, rate yourself.
Yeah,
so,
don't.
Finance, operations, marketing.
Yeah,
so I'm always 10 out of 10 for my marketing.
I had a meeting with the HR director, who's me, and
Yes.
it was very kind, and it was kind of like, you know, must try harder is like on the report. Funny enough, on the school reports as well. But it's like I sit next to a videographer who has recorded no video content for his own business, despite in January us both committing to doing that, and it's because there's not that stuff around us.
There's not that accountability
because
either.
There's no one doing it.
There's no one to bring you into an office and tell you.
And I
off.
would like to say to people, right, I don't think if I'd ever got to the stage in the corporate world where I was walking into a nice shiny ad agency office, and there are some nice SEO offices in London, don't hire them because you're paying for their nice offices. But like if I was walking in and I was walking into my nice glass corner office, and everybody was like walking past going, "Morning, Mr. Cusick. Morning. How do you like your coffee? Oh, your paper's on your desk."
Yeah.
Because, you know, if I had a corner office, I'd have someone deliver me the paper just because I like nice, you know, just for the sake of it. I'm not sure if I could walk away from that and go back to my dining room table and not have that flat over my ego of like, if I've earned a corner office and a nice title and I get to go in each day and have people send me kiss my ass because
brave,
of what I've done.
It's very brave.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's one thing to always. So I've kind of trajectoried up from the bottom without having to leave something great. Those people that make that jump, they're either brave, insane, bit of both.
I like it. I think
I don't
it's
think
bold.
I could.
And it's saying, you know, like it's saying I'm going to walk away from everything I've worked for. Like with my lawyer client.
Yeah.
You know what it takes to become a top lawyer in a global firm as a woman in your 30s? Like that's a lot of hard work, education, sacrifice, you know, all of family. You know, imagine, I can't even imagine telling my mum, you know that massive job I've got that you tell everyone about at the golf club. Like,
has she told her mum?
Yeah, like, you know, or even your partner. Imagine saying to your partner, you know, let's say you're head of HR at a big corporate, you're on 200 grand a year. You know that 200 grand a year I got coming in, babe? I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to leave that because I want to go and do this coaching, or I want to go and do this thing I'm really passionate about. I want to set up a llama farm. You know, like, I imagine half the husbands and wives in the world would be like, what?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like, oh, follow your dreams, babe. They'd be like, what the hell? How are we going to pay the mortgage, right?
So I live in an Essex suburb called Thorpe Bay, which is right next to a place called Leigh-on-Sea, often in the top 5 places in the country to live. And it must be if you like hairdressers and coffee shops. But I can imagine if you put a GoPro camera in about 70% of those houses, those nice big houses in those areas, and the husbands or the wives that were the big earner that are paying for that lifestyle come in and went, it's okay, we can move to, they'll be like, what?
I've met this woman called Helen.
What about my golf coach? What about my personal? Do you know what I mean? It's like, as you say, it's a hell of a big, and it is really brave. And, you know, full disclosure, I've done it this way because that was my choice, because I didn't have the option, you know, and I couldn't play the corporate game. And if I was in corporate, I'd be low. And that's really easy to jump. But do you think, so moving into like freelancer, scary, not having the scaffolding. If you are a big shot, you've got your nice corner office that I want. You've got your seat on the board at the law firm. Do you think when you're thinking about making the move, you need to think about making that switch from being a freelancer the wrong move? And should they maybe go, right, I'm going to leave, but be aware that they're going to need the scaffolding and maybe have the budget, the time and the acceptance that they're probably going to have a team straight away?
I think.
Because they're not used to being in the trenches like in that way as much, or what are your thoughts?
So my ideal clients are all corporate leavers, as we call them.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is, what makes them great clients is that they are bold and brave, and they're used to working hard and they're used to earning a lot of money, which makes them great clients. Yeah. And they're also used to spending money.
Yeah.
And they're also used to investing in things to make their job better or their business go faster, right? But what happens is there's the whisper of the soul that says, this is not my life. Yeah. And it becomes untenable. The job becomes untenable because they've done it. They've achieved it. They've seen it. They've got the money, got the handbags, got the cars, they've got all that, done it. They know what they're giving up because they know it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, they've ticked all those things on the list.
They've done everything, They're high achievers and they've achieved, right? So now they're like, what next? So they're passionate and they're doing it for the right reasons. But they've also, what happens is they make the move and they need somebody like me because I give them the confidence that they're going to be okay. And that can help them build a machine. They come to me because they want to build a machine, not because they want to be freelancers. They might have thought that originally, but when they actually meet me and talk to me or my team, they're like, oh, actually, I'm a high achiever. If they hadn't have been a top lawyer, I've got GPs in my program that have given it up to do dancers medicine. I've got lawyers, I've got loads of corporate people, like big jobs, If they can do that, they can do anything. If they hadn't have done that, they would have been a higher achiever in something else. Yeah. I've got people who've got law and accountancy degrees. People who have got master's degrees in this, that, and the other. I've got a copywriter who's got a degree in the classics. These are smart, switched on people who can achieve in anything. And then they see the business opportunity and they're excited by that and they're ready for it. So they want to build a business. They start off saying, I want to replace my salary, but to replace a 100, 200 grand salary, you got to build a machine anyway. We
mentioned that, didn't we?
Yeah, these are the people who want to go and, like you say, like bum around and go and work from Costa Rica and, make some money for their next, latte in the sun and then, go surfboarding and then go and see some turtles and all that. I mean, fair play. But this isn't about, I just want to make enough to get by. It's like, I need to rebuild quite often because I've got a situation at home. It means that they've got a lifestyle they want, but they want to build something that matters and that means something. They know they can build something that doesn't matter, but it means something to them and the organization they work for. But they want to build something that matters to them, and I think they realize that they want help because they don't want to do it all on their own, and they need help, and they're willing to ask for help and pay for help, which makes them so perfect for me.
That's something that I've found anecdotally, and I'm not sure if you found. You get a great lawyer that's brilliant at what they do. You get a doctor, you get someone that's great at what they do, that's worked hard for the qualifications and stuff. They seem to have a lot more respect for another profession.
Yes. Yeah. They value expertise and they pay for expertise. They value expertise.
Yeah. What does surprise me, as you say, it could be that you've reached the heights, you've reached boardroom, it's not for you, and you're like, do you know what? I worked really hard because I wanted to be able to go and surf, and I'm working so hard I can never surf. So actually I don't want to work this hard. I'm going to take on some consultancy freelancing gigs, and I'm not trying to replace my salary, but I kind of just want to make sure that those consultancy gigs are there for me to pick up that I can do. But it does amaze me sometimes. I don't think I could walk away from 50, 60, 100, 200 grand a year, and I wouldn't ask someone to help me plan it that's got a route, but yet people do every day, by choice. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the people that are choosing these things, right? And they're obviously your ideal client because they're like, right, I've done that, I've proved I've done it, it hasn't filled my soul. This is what's going to fill my soul. And they're coming to you to sort of say, help.
Build me a machine so I can do the thing that lights me up.
Yeah, I want to do the thing that lights me up. But actually, I don't want to drop in how I'm living, my quality of my life and the money in the bank, because what fills my soul is also worth, this much money. Then you've got the other people, I suppose, that have been in those positions. And and there's a lot of people I know personally that are in this position where the nice corporate world has gone, oh, we've just been taken over. Unlucky. We don't need 20 lawyers at boardroom level anymore. We need 10.
Yeah.
Unlucky you're not it. Do you know what I mean? Or we've just merged with another marketing agency. You're not the marketing director anymore. Do you know,
oh yes, redundancy is massive.
And it's kind of like, and you've got this bit of cash.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, here you go. You worked really hard for 20 years. You made us millions.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
It's 15 grand, toodle off.
See you later.
You know,
yeah.
And I imagine for them, it's a little bit more kind of like unsure. And also because they didn't plan it, it was not necessarily what they wanted to do. And we were talking in the previous episode about that investment in you. It's coming out of a pool of money that's not getting replaced just yet. It's not planned. Because if I was planning to leave, I'd be hiring you while someone else was still paying in the paychecks.
Yeah, which is what they do usually.
Which is like, you know, and then I'd get everything set up and I'd be like, right, I'm ready. And then I would leave after my launch.
Yeah.
Like, that would be smart.
Yeah.
Just so you know, in the world of entrepreneurship and solopreneurs and self-business owners, that level of smart and organised and thinking is rare, which is why only Helen generally has those people as clients. What did you do? I walked into the office, turned around, thought, I hate this.
Burn it all to the ground.
What was the plan? There wasn't a plan.
There is usually a catalyst moment though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it could be, and also age and life stage does play into this, I think, because I think I see a lot of people in their late 40s and 50s who are like, work really hard, you know, built up the thing, you know, being the person that they are, the identity that they're in. And they're like, something will happen. So it could be a health thing, it could be somebody around them health thing, or aging parents or children growing up. You know, that
get rid of the kids. It's
that kind of like, is this it then? Because I'm going to do this for another 20 years, 30 years. Like, really? You know, I've done it for 20 years. I'm doing it for another 20. And I think that realization, that is this it feeling is such a powerful trigger for so many people. You know, we've got women, you know, hitting menopause, whatever it might be, but just thinking, no, and this is my time now. What do I want to do? I've given everything I've got to my career, to my family, to my partner, to my communities. You know, these are people who are just giving and giving and giving and thinking, no, it's my time.
Absolutely.
And I think they love me because they see me as somebody who's going to give them permission to say, yeah, this is your time. What do you want to do? Like, literally, what do you want to do? We can do anything. What do you really want to do? A lot of people say to me, well, my big dream is, and I'm like, well, stop right there, because we're going to go after that. Forget what we're going to think and do in the meantime. Like, we're going to go for the big dream now, because life's short and I can build your business with anything.
And that's a question we circle back to. Does it take me closer to my big dream?
Yeah.
Like with every step and every action. And I think there's nothing wrong. And it can be if your audience has been online and so everybody's like, oh, start small, we do this. There's nothing wrong with running your first thing, your launch into coaching, your launch into teaching people to dance, you know, for medical reasons or whatever it is that you want to go into. There's nothing wrong with treating that like a startup, more than a freelance project. And that's okay. And if you've got loftier ambitions and you've got the wherewithal, financial, time and stuff to do that,
this is your moment. Yeah.
Then it's there. So what is the mindset shift of I'm going to leave and I'm going to become a freelancer or a solopreneur to I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to start a business that does this. And when you talk to these people, they're probably like, I'm going to start a business, and they're thinking they're going to start with just them.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have to have those conversations of like, but no, if you want this, you're going to need X, Y, and Z. What is the difference in mindset and the conversation and those realization points of when they go, oh, so I'm going to need that machine, which we mentioned in an earlier podcast episode, like I think it's podcast 1, season 2, about building the machine. Some of these people, to get where they want, you're going to be saying to them, no, it can't be just you. If you want that quickly,
and
the machine needs to happen.
Yeah, and it's a feel good. Because quite often somebody is very successful at one thing.
Yeah.
And they have a machine around them anyway, but they don't realize it. So it's like, we're going to recreate that. So you're going to be really good at this thing. But most people want to do the thing they want to do. They don't want to run the whole business because they haven't got the skill set. It's almost like nobody's got the skill set, really. So to get them to understand that is just to future vision it out. So what does life look like when this is a success? And one of the things that I think I'm really good at helping is seeing a bigger picture and making the dream a bit bigger, making a bit bolder. I feel like particularly in the UK and particularly women, it's almost like, well, I just want enough to. I just want this. And it's like, well, what if you had more? What if you had everything? and more.
Why is it as British people? It's just
We
like
just-
being
We're taught that
rich
we're not allowed
so,
to ask for more than we need. It's
I've always wanted, and it is ridiculous because, I've always wanted one of those long driveway houses.
but you say it's ridiculous, but that's subjective, isn't
But
it?
absolutely, but that's
Not
the thing.
to you,
It's like I want a driveway that you can't see the house from. The part of it could be a bungalow at the end of the driveway. Like with gates. I used to drive past them on the way to my nan's house in Midhurst. These estates with the big gates. I just thought, wow. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
what you want, and not everybody wants that.
Absolutely.
But what I'm really good at getting people to understand what they want.
Absolutely, but people feel wrong with like that. I have felt wrong for so often when people said, "What's your dream?" But I want to be this and I want to be that. No, I don't want to be comfortable. I want to be obscenely rich.
Yeah,
like,
good.
do you know what I mean? Like, I would love to be.
But obscenely is a subjective word. That's
Absolutely.
a negative word.
Well, absolutely.
But
that's the thing. It's like I would love to be able to go. Oh, I've got a chance to go and watch Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid.
Yeah,
I'll buy a box. I'm going to jump in a jet and not care about. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be happy at a set of money far, far below that. But if someone said to me, like, future vision, what do you want? And then I sat down with you and I'll go, what do you want? I want this. And you'll be like,
okay,
you're going to have to build a multi-million-dollar company to do that. Do you want to do that? And I'll be like, ooh, actually, do I actually want to work that hard to because there is that balance sometimes, isn't it? Because it's like John's future vision of the life he wants is here. The level of effort John's put into to achieve that. So it's kind of like, well, actually, let's settle for a nice 5-bedroom detached house with a gate,
an electric gate,
with an electric gate,
and some shrubbery,
and you can go first class once a year. I'll be like, actually, that sounds like the perfect compromise. Yeah. And I imagine there is that. So with the mindset shift, which is what this episode's around, between being a freelancer and a company owner, the biggest mindset shift appears to be one, accepting that if you want to achieve certain goals in a certain time scale, you need scaffolding. You need to know that. And the key thing to decide which one's right for you is to do the future visioning work with you. Is that a course or is that something people do one-to-one?
That's what people tend to do one-to-one. Okay. We do cover it in the program, but obviously it works better because I'm able to see through people's hesitations and resistance and try to overcome it. So it works better one-to-one.
You can see them overthinking an answer. And if someone's taking too long to answer, you
kind
of know
can just pull a little thread and we can go down and to see those epiphany moments where they see what could be possible and they're allowed to think that bigger, bolder vision is really powerful because like I said to you, like wherever you want, we can build towards that. But we've got to decide before we've got to decide what we want and make sure it feels good. Yeah. Before we start to build. Because what a lot of people do is they build first and then they feel later. We've got to feel first and then build towards that feeling. But I think another thing is you've got to understand that everyone around you is not always going to support the dream.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And I think people potentially don't always see that, particularly if they've been in corporate a long time or they've been in employment a long time. They think, wow, I'm going to do this big, bold, exciting thing. Everyone around me is going to be so excited for me. And they're not. They're going to be threatened by it and they're going to be triggered by it and they're going to be so unsupportive that it'll make you doubt yourself. Yeah. And that is going to affect your mindset. It's really difficult when you start to put yourself out there and you have a big dream and people around you, sometimes the people closest to you who love you the most, but who are scared for you that you're going to do something that maybe won't work out or maybe, the risk. People don't want you to take risks if they love you. Also, people are just horrible and don't want you to do something that they want to do. So a lot of people who are still in employment will be triggered by it because they're not brave enough to do it. And I see, again, when I'm looking at working with clients, there's very much a mix here between me really encouraging them to vision that dream and to build towards it and also supporting them through almost the disappointment that not everybody around them sees it and feels it, like I do. And I think that makes me much more valuable to people outside of just the strategy. Yeah, absolutely. To be able to come to somebody and be honest, and because I've been through it myself. I told this story in the last podcast, but I keep telling it because he's still my best friend, and I know he feels awful. But when I said I was going to make $1 million in my business, in my what was then a very low level, I was doing £99 things, and I was making a couple of grand a month. And I remember saying to my best friend, I was in the pub and I remember exactly where we were and where we were stood. He's a guy called Phil. And I said, I'm going to make $1 million doing this. And he laughed and he laughed and he laughed. He just couldn't, he just thought it was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. And when I hit my million,
did you take him to the same spot in the pub and flick your stripe round?
he was like, I'm so sorry.
But the thing is, people.
But you know what? But that's your best friend in the whole world.
People only have a bandwidth for what they understand and what they can concede. If you showed our grandparents the internet, I mean, the thing that the internet's based on really started being used during the World War II in the Navy.
Yeah.
So anybody's concept that you could send video, it was a thing of sci-fi, it was a thing of Star Trek. The ability to make video calls to kids with handheld computers. I mean, our phones are more powerful than things. So people only have a bandwidth to be able to support and understand what they know.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that's what's happening there. And one of my first friends, probably my first friend ever at school, Matt Kennedy, has just started a coffee hut, like roll around thing on a trailer.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows so much about coffee because he worked for buying and trading and doing coffee. He's like a coffee snob in terms of his knowledge, but he's not snobby about sharing it.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. I went to see him. There's parks up by the woods and had really nice coffee. Matt, you can give me a free coffee for this endorsement. I
Does
won't
he want
mention
to
it.
sponsor the episode?
yeah. But we were talking about how surprising it actually was, how few people liked and would even share a post saying,
"Oh no,
like I've opened this coffee having now. Be great. I would appreciate any support." And it really hit some people. I'm not saying it did Matt because we didn't have that conversation.
No, it's disappointing.
But you kind of think,
but it's
if someone got a new job, they'd be like, "Oh, great."
Yeah.
But it's like the amount of people that I know that I would share their stuff. That if I sort of said, "Hey, I'm opening this new agency," they wouldn't be sharing it. They wouldn't be liking it. And I'm kind of toughened to it.
Yeah, I am toughened to it, but I do see it over and over again. The disappointment that people feel, they feel hurt by it.
So if you're out there feeling that, that's it. Not everybody's going to be that. One point of reference, they won't get it because it's not in their sphere. They don't understand it because they've never seen it. And just think of it, they don't understand entrepreneurialism and what you're going through. They don't understand that the ideal client stuff that Helen does and the soul and all that alignment because they've never felt it and they've never had it explained to them. And when you explain it, you're not going to explain it as well as Helen does to them. I was explaining the internet to people in '99. They didn't get it. And they're like, it's just a fad. It's never going to take off. So you have to be kind of toughened to it. But I would say, like, if you are thinking about doing any of this, if you want to achieve something, do the future visioning work with someone like Helen. And, if you're Helen's ideal client, you can afford her and it's a great investment. If not, just actually have a real think. And when you're doing it, just try and remove, like, if anything was possible.
Yeah.
If anything is possible.
The Dave Kibbe classic, the open up a room of possibility.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like, and then like, but why? And then sort of sit there and go, okay. And it might be something you do before they contact you, to decide when you're doing it. But freelancer to business, if you want to do something great, you're probably going to need to be a business.
Yeah.
You're probably going to need to do it. You might not have the money to be a business yet. It may be that when work together, it'd be like, this is a thing I can build now that I can sell now as a freelancer and I can make $5,000 a month and I can put $2,000 away because I need $2,000 to do it. And the dream thing that I've got that's going to get me to that point, this is what I really want to do, Helen. And you'd be like, right, to start that, we need $30,000 or we need this much. And this is what you're actually talking about. And I'd be like, right, I'll do that. I'll get that cash I haven't got. Then I'll do that. And it's kind of like there's cause and effect and stuff like that.
That's the business owner mindset though, isn't it? So a freelancer mindset is I just need to earn money for me to live on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The business owner mindset is I need to earn money in the business so I can invest it into growing the business.
Absolutely.
And putting fuel
so
into
So that's another key change, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's not, you're not just what you earn is what you get to goes into your personal pocket.
Yeah. And that thing we talked about earlier on, I think it's episode 1, about having a limited company, having a separate business bank account, having an accountant, finance team, and all that kind of stuff around before you even think about team, before you even think about the machine. It's like creating this separate legal financial identity for the business so you work for the business. Whereas freelance, I mean, I know a lot of them will have limited companies for tax reasons, but, it's kind of much more, this is just me doing my thing and I just need to earn money to pay my own wages.
Absolutely.
And I think that if you want big impact, And particularly if you want scale, then you got to go for business owner.
So in summary, we're kind of saying that there's nothing wrong with being a freelancer and just wanting to be a freelancer.
There's nothing wrong with getting paid time for money,
and it certainly
business.
really suits. But understand what you are if you are a freelancer, and if you're making that change because you don't want a boss. Bear in mind that you might be actually taking on
you've got to do the ideal client work if you're going to be a freelancer, because you'll have such close contact with them and you won't have a team in between you like I have. Yeah.
So, in bullet points, what would you say the key bullet points are of the difference between a freelancer mindset and a business owner mindset? And you referenced the previous episode there of not being self-employed and just you and your bank account being the same thing, having the limited company and a separate company. So things like that. What would you say, like a checklist of say like 3 to 5? I'd say what are the big tick lists that you would go through?
Yeah. So do you want to work for yourself or do you want to work for your own business? I think that would be step question 1. You know what I mean? Step 2 is like, is this dream bigger than you?
I like that. That's a powerful question, isn't it?
Yeah. Is this dream for you and you alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is this dream bigger than you?
We need to make a note that needs to be a YouTube video on its own with you explaining that, because that is a great title.
If the dream's bigger than you, then you need to build a machine to create that. And then is this something that so when you look at the future, is this a future that has an impact way beyond what you could achieve on your own?
Powerful, yeah.
Way beyond.
Yeah.
Like unimaginably at this moment.
Like
beyond.
Apple, Apple was a few guys in a garage.
Yeah, so like just...
Amazon was one guy in his bedroom.
Yeah, but the vision was always much bigger than selling books, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just that was step 1.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you need to go to step 10 straight away, but it's like, is the life by design about having something bigger than you?
Yeah.
And are you happy to swap time for money forever?
Yeah.
And if you are, and there's no judgment on that, then you're a freelancer.
Yeah.
If you want to swap your time for impact and money beyond your current wildest dreams, then we're building a business.
That is very succinct and a powerful set of 5. And I think when people go through and ask themselves those questions, there's going to be some great answers. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or even if you're listening to it because you're in the car and you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcast from, or you're around your friend's house and it's on Alexa, go to the YouTube video version of this and write your answers. Do you know what I mean? If you want to share your answers, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it'd be interesting to know, or just if you don't want to give detail on your answers, just say, I answered those 5 questions and tell us whether that was powerful for you. Because I'm sitting here and it's rattling around my little head. Do you know what I mean? Some of those answers, like, is what you want to do bigger than you?
Yeah. Are you here to leave a legacy or will it die with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like, so sit with that. And you've got, how often we're releasing? Like once a week?
Once a week.
So you've got till next week, because then there'll be another homework. So that's your homework for this week. These podcasts and this information like Helen's giving you is always more powerful if you take some time to sit and think and actually act on it, or ask the question or go, oh, does that feel there? And if there's something that's like slightly triggering's probably an overused word these days, but if there's something that
makes you feel something,
that makes you feel something, that twangs, just look into that. Right? Just look into why did I feel that? Why did I disagree so fervently with Helen? Why did I think John was an idiot when he said that? Is it because they're wrong and they're idiots and I don't want to listen to their stuff anymore? Or was it because actually it really hit home? Because a lot of the times when I have that feeling, it's because the other person's right.
And I think when you go through those inquiries with an open heart, open mind, you'll know. Like, I know I'm a business owner, not a freelancer.
Yeah.
Like, I know on a soul level, you know, and I think you'll know. You ask yourself the questions, you'll know. And there's no judgment on either. Yeah. I think it's just knowing that limitation is there if you choose to have it. So,
and the other thing is as well, is I know if I said to you,
choice.
I'll pay $100,000 to be a freelancer, to just go back to what you're doing with the LinkedIn profiles. Like, that's what you're going to get. You're going to do that. So it's just you charge £1,000, do 100 of them a year. Bang, that's your life. Or I'll give you exactly the same income to run a company that is having an impact wider than you, not only do you know you're paying all these other people, you're going to pick business owner all the time. Even if the financial, and that's the other question to sort of what I'd say is like, if the financial
was the same
and all other things were equal, would you rather be sat there knowing that you've built a team of people and you're achieving that, or would you rather not have that hassle?
Yeah. And I think that's a really valid question. If you're going to get paid 100 grand a year, guaranteed, would you rather just work for yourself, doing the thing that you need to do, you want to do, or would you rather build something bigger than you with all of the stress and all of the hassle that comes with it? Is the payoff worth it? And I think that's a really important inquiry, because I know my answer is option B every day, every single minute of every single day. And it's funny because it's almost like it should be option A, because that sounds like an easier life.
Yeah. But it's interesting as well, because you probably said it and I haven't picked up on it in a lot of the other episodes. I like the phraseology you're using there, not question, because that can sometimes seem confrontational. Inquiry. You're inquiring. You're looking for more, because inquiry kind of says, I'm not looking for an answer, because a question denotes that I think, with my understanding of the English language, there's an answer at the end of it. An inquiry is an inquest for more information.
Yeah.
And there might not be an answer, but there's more. Yeah. So when you're saying to like, that's inquiry.
A gentle exploration.
Yeah, I think that's a really like interesting way of phrasing it that feels so much less confrontational to myself. I'm going to inquire why I do that. Because sometimes if I haven't got an answer, I know I haven't got an answer, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
But if I'm just inquiring, I would give as much information as I had. So that's really interesting.
These are the threads that when we pull, it can unravel into something really powerful.
Yeah. And then the next day, having done that inquiry, you might go, oh, yeah, it's there. Great. So you've got your homework.
Yes.
Next episode, next week.
Yes.
And look forward to hearing from you and how you got on with those questions and inquiries.
Yes. Thanks, John.
Take care.
'Cause these are the best days.